There's really such an incredible amount of blessing that can come out of just treating people right.
It's easy to want to focus on a pain point, but where you feel pain is not always what you're trying to solve.
We have to be proud to put our logo on all of our work. And if we're not, we shouldn't do it.
So if I go do really hard, scary things on the weekend, I come back to this thing and it seems pretty normal. I'm not going to die today doing this job.
Being able to make mistakes, sometimes expensive mistakes, is important. And without the ability to do that, it's hard to learn and to take risks that can be highly beneficial risks.
I feel like we just captured a breaking news moment. How did those sales go? What happens in that situation then? Tell us about it though. What does that mean? Why'd you get into that? How do you use it? Homeowners today face more complexity in deciding their energy future than at any other time in history. 20 years ago, the choice was simple. Electricity came from the grid, delivered by a utility, and maybe you adjusted your usage with energy efficiency upgrades. Now, the landscape is flooded with options. Solar panels, home batteries, electric vehicles, heat pumps, smart thermostats, generators, energy efficiency retrofits, and even dynamic utility rate plans. Each category comes with layers of decisions. Which equipment do you buy? How large a system to install? Which contractor do you trust to build it? Which contractor do you trust to build it? How to sequence investments over time? And what incentives or tax credits should you apply to? On top of all of that, rules and approvals vary by state, utility, and municipality, creating a maze of red tape. The average homeowner isn't just choosing a single product anymore. They're orchestrating a long-term, interconnected energy strategy, and the stakes are higher than ever, both financially and environmentally. Most have no clue about any of this. It's overwhelming, it's confusing, misleading, and pretty exciting. And to make matters better or worse, depending on the person, this is a services business, a human-to-human one, meaning almost all of these energy projects require a contractor to quote, sell, engineer, permit, procure, and install the job. You hope to find the right contractor, the one that you can trust, and who will do a good job at the right price. In comes EnergySage, the leading solar marketplace in the US and a wholly owned subsidiary of Schneider Electric. With EnergySage, you get a one-stop shop to address all of your home energy needs. You can shop for EV chargers, heating and AC, and more. You have access to quotes from the best financial institutions and most reliable contractors. And they have a full staff of energy advisors to help navigate any complexity. Personally, what I love best is their customer experience. Joining me today is Erik Holvik, the current Director of Corporate Development and Strategy. He's been at EnergySage for 4 transformative years with a previous background in education, e-commerce, and technology. Erik brings a unique perspective to solar, given that he's relatively new. Erik knows empathy, relationship building, and most of all, how to ask good questions. He strategically navigates our industry as if he's been in it for a decade plus. He has a knack for building relationships, which is crucial now more than ever as the solar industry is drastically evolving. Erik and I both believe that most solar contractors, if they haven't done so already, will expand to other verticals like roofing, HVAC, batteries, EVs, and more. EnergySage already offers a marketplace for all of these. What's wild is that EnergySage is experiencing a 205% year-over-year increase due to homeowners trying to claim the remaining ITC benefits. The surge in consumer activity follows the passage of the HR1 bill on July 4th, 2025, and its elimination of the residential ITC at the end of 2025. So there's a lot of urgency right now. Today, we'll dig deeper into the homeowner's experience shopping for solar and how Erik and his team have informed it and will continue to influence it as the industry evolves. Welcome to When Life Gives You Lumens, Erik. Great to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate the intro too.
Absolutely. So what I want to start with you is understanding what are homeowners thinking about right now as it relates to solar? What is their sentiment? What are they trying to achieve? How is EnergySage addressing that?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So we spent down in DC back in June lobbying and very much down with our director of content, Emily Walker, and came out with the Go Solar Now type of campaign of EnergySage has always been a firm believer, and you should first and foremost own your system if you have the choice to do that and if you have the chance to do that. And that's a lot of our customer base, that's a lot of our contractor base, and that's very much what we're pushing towards in the campaigns that we're going towards. It's not saying, look, go solar now or never. It's go solar now, take advantage of the benefits, and if it's not now, let's discuss what later looks like. Um, but what homeowners are thinking about solar is, let me get in now, start saving money because utility rates are already increasing. I mean, we've seen this across the board that they're looking at their bill, they're wondering, why am I paying $200 when I used to pay 120 on a monthly basis? How can I lower this? Because it's getting out of hand and it's only going to get worse.
It is amazing that the utilities continue to raise rates. From the utility perspective, right, they have inputs when it comes to fuel stock, whether it's gas or coal or whatever, and those prices are going up. Right? We all know about inflation. There's also an aging grid, so there is merit to increasing rates. But when you see things like 20%, 30%, 50%, 60%, when you see the history over the last few years of rate increases, you got to wonder, right? When is it going to stop, and what's that inflection point? I'm curious, how has EnergySage's platform evolved as it's addressing some of these new things, whether it's the urgency around the ITC going away or other products and other home energy needs?
Yeah, one thing that we're doing is making sure that we have an offering for any electrification journey for the consumer. And what we've realized is there are homeowners that might never go solar, but they'll put a heat pump in their house, or they'll put a smart thermostat in their house, or they want a main panel upgrade to be with a smart panel to be able to track what their load usage looks like. Or they might just be interested in joining a VPP program and just having a battery. Like we've seen stuff with Green Mountain Power with PG&E out in California. Like it makes sense, but there needs to be an avenue for homeowners to, one, be educated on what all these processes look like, but also two, to be able to be connected to those contractors to give them the best deal to go forward with that. So one thing that we're very much honed in on is giving the best experience to the homeowner at the best price possible to help contractors grow and scale their business and increase their profit margins the right way.
For people who are new to EnergySage, I'd love for you to give a quick overview about the business, maybe a little bit about its history and what you guys do today.
Yeah, so we started back in 2009, funded by the Department of Energy, won the Sunshot Award, very much as an educational platform. It was in a time where consumers didn't know much about solar. EnergySage is still needed on the educational side because ask anyone on the street what a kilowatt hour is, and a lot of people won't have the answers. EnergySage continues to produce that content. And what happened in 2012, 2013 is we then created our dual-sided marketplace. I would very much compare it to how Kayak functions, but for electrification. And that continued to grow. 2016, people started searching solar more and more, and we had the content. Our organic traffic skyrocketed. I stepped in back in 2021, helped open up our heat pump marketplace, our commercial industrial marketplace, worked with Qmerit for EV chargers and helped expand that side of things. But where we got acquired by Schneider Electric back in 2022, and we've been able to grow and scale from there. We now cover all 50 states, including Washington, D.C. We're not in Puerto Rico yet, but hopefully we will be soon because that's a great storage and market only, but also a great solar and storage market too. So ever since then, we've been growing, we've been expanding, been looking to get into other products, but also just have more homeowners go solar.
How do you educate the homeowner and have a marketplace that's digestible with all of these home electrification products in one place? I mean, the buyer journey is not simple, right, for the average homeowner right now. And so how do you guys put it all in one spot, but make it something that homeowners can approach?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that we do right now is we have our energy advisors. That's the source of truth for any of these consumers. They can book a call with an energy advisor. The homeowner doesn't have to pay for it. and it's before they even register, and that homeowner gets walked through what their journey looks like. Or they might enter into the solar marketplace, receive 5 quotes from different contractors, but want to talk to the energy advisor about HVAC or EV charging and get those installations on top of it. And they're able to, one, help educate them and walk them through those. But also, when a homeowner is receiving quotes, right, they're still able to go through our content. They're still able to go through that knowledge base and figure out what they're looking to learn and how we can help them as well.
This makes me think of when I have conversations with contractors around why now is different as it relates to the homeowner experience. And usually this is related to O&M, to operations and maintenance and service. But right, you're not just selling a solar array anymore. You might start with selling a solar array, but 3 years later, they might say, I'm buying my first electric vehicle, and they don't have a electrical contractor that they call all the time for fixing lights. They call you, right? So you being the contractor. So great. 3 years later, ice storm in Texas, or name your natural disaster event, and they lose power and they don't want to pay for expensive natural gas or maybe they're in Massachusetts. And so great. What's the battery cost going to look like? 2 years after that, I'm upgrading my inverter. 5 years after that, maybe I'm upgrading my panels, right? Like there's this electrification journey that's going to occur, which is why I think you and I agree that the solar contractor of today is the home electrification contractor or the field services contractor of tomorrow. And most contractors in the next 3 to 5 years won't do only solar. In fact, I think only the smallest installers will. They'll do everything else. Do you guys have a train of thought on that as well? Is that something you agree with, or where do you see it going?
Yeah, I think we were early to a lot of our initiatives of what we were trying to do. And I also think the big beautiful bill pushed everyone to get into diversify their companies to fulfill that electrification journey. And what I mean by that is when all of a sudden you cut all of the credits essentially for renewable energy, except for TPO with batteries, which we can talk about later. I have a lot of thoughts on that. Is it forces these companies who have built their business on solar to figure out other avenues to fulfill. I mean, we've talked with contractors in Florida and Texas that are already getting into HVAC and heat pumps. We see a lot of solar now. All of a sudden, you see roofing and solar on their company name now instead of just solar. So we're seeing these companies all of a sudden split and figuring out or having partners to have that referral network too. But they have become way more intentional about how to sustain and keep their company afloat. Because if you're just relying on solar right now as an installation business, your customer acquisition cost is going to be really high next year, first of all, and your pricing is going to be high and your traffic's going to be a lot lower.
I was going to ask you about what do you think next year is going to look like? Do you want to expand on that? Because that was very insightful. I mean, I just give you an aside. We're seeing groups that have been in home services for a couple of years being in a really good spot. We're seeing groups who are behind on batteries or TPO needing to really ramp up, and it's anxiety inducing. And then in the worst case scenarios, we're seeing groups who are like, I got to add HVAC to save my business. And they are not saying that explicitly, but you can gotta get a sense. And so there's this big spectrum as to who's become more dynamic and versatile proactively, and who is reactive to it, and who is just slow altogether. And I think a lot of that also is dependent on the company's culture and people's buy-in and a vision of where things go. But yeah, I'd love for you to expand on what you think next year is going to look like.
I think it's really valid for a lot of contractors to be anxious and cautious on TPO, third-party ownership, leases, power purchase agreements, because we've seen what has happened with SunPower, with Sonova, like Solar City. Like we've seen this over time with leases and power purchase agreements, and I don't blame them. Frankly, I'm a little cautious about it too when the industry relies on leasing and TPO. Essentially, you can only fulfill so many jobs. You can't extend that for you raise enough money for the year to sustain that for these TPO providers, and now all of a sudden you expand that. I mean, when you look at LightReach, right? They took on a lot of clients from SunPower and Sonova that they took on too much. So all of a sudden, if we're relying on TPO, there's only a certain amount of installs that can actually happen that year. So one, I've been telling installers, get in with your providers now, figure out the right ones to go with and work with them before it's too late, before they're not letting you in.
And I think that's already
So
happening, by the way. That
it
whole
has to.
the gatekeeping is already happening the last few months.
It has to. I've talked to providers and they're upping the like threshold. You need X amount of revenue to get into the doors. And I
Hmm.
don't blame them. I would be doing the exact same thing. Like they're being smart about it, right? We're learning from other companies' failures to not repeat that and not have history repeat itself. So my hope for 2026 is that history doesn't repeat itself, that we're not seeing these large companies go out of business. But I think the market's planning on contracting in the solar market big. And when I say big, I would say like 20, 30%, maybe a little bit more. But TPO is going to take over more of that market share just because 25B, the residential solar tax credits cut by the end of the year. So we're seeing financing companies starting to look into TPO as well. Like it's happening. So the outlook for 2026 is one, TPO will take off, but also two, these companies are going to diversify and get into roofing. That's a stable business. It makes sense. You and I have talked about this in the past. It makes sense for a solar installer to also be a roofer. And you see the top solar installers throughout the country in California, Arizona, Florida are typically roofers as well. So like that's already kind of been there. It's just more and more people are catching on to it. And I'm really excited for the battery market to increase. I've been waiting for this to increase. I think it makes a lot of sense. Just need prices to go down a little bit more, and for the efficiency to be a little bit better. But we're really close as an industry, and excited for that, for TPO, for battery only not to be cut, because that has a huge growth for VPP and DR, demand response.
I agree with everything you're saying. I think it's much easier for a solar company to add roofing than roofing to add solar.
Yeah.
So many people have said that roofers are going to become solar contractors, and I always disagreed with that. I'm excited for the batteries. On the TPO note, it's interesting. There's a lot of people that are hesitant about third-party ownership and leases. And, I agree with you. We want homeowners to own their systems. We want them to maximize the savings and the benefits. But there are homeowners that just won't have the $20,000 to $50,000 of cash ever, ever. And whether it is giving them reliable payment structure versus being at the whims of utility rate increases, or greening the environment, greening the planet and having more solar installed, I'm all in with TPO if it's done the right way. What I want to see happen though is, because there's just people who just will never afford it, and that's okay. Like another example is just like, hey, someone is going to, an empty nester is going to be downsizing in 10 years. They don't want to own a 20, 30-year asset on their house. The third party owner, they don't have to worry about it, sell the house, whatever. Like, so there's all these situations where TPO makes sense for the homeowner. What I will say though is we're going to talk more about this at Scanafly over the next few months. I think TPO actually has an incredibly unique moment in the history of the solar industry to save us from ourselves. So often, solar has used financing products to drive savings and a race to the bottom on price and just selling a shiny proposal. Buy these savings at the door, Solar Bro, all the things that people talk about. But because TPO has a limited capital pool, they can only work with, if they want to, the best installers. They can raise the standard for what projects go through their system, their approaches, right? Go through their approvals. They can demand quality across the board. They can demand an educational style of selling, not a fast style of selling. And ultimately, TPO is now mature enough such that they are seeing price fluctuation on the securitized assets that they're selling off or raising their next fund. And they're going to start realizing that the prior assets were underperforming. And now they have a chance to raise the standard of how solar is done. For example, on-site shading, accurate designs, minimal revisions on install day, not a one-sit close if that's not viable for the homeowner. Like TPO can literally, starting in January, change how solar is done for the better and finally help us grow up. And I'm excited for that. And I really hope that they embrace that opportunity because I think it's needed now more than ever.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you say that, and for us to grow up as an industry, because again, down in DC, it was eye-opening in June, where we met with 8 different Senate offices, and most of them said solar is a mature market. It just has a ton of shady people in there. And I said, we are not a mature market at all. Like, I would say what in the US we produce renewable energy is like 6% of the overall energy produced in the United States. Like
So
that,
solar is like 6% of the mix right now. Yeah.
yeah, like I wouldn't say that's maturity. I would say that that's very beginning stages of um yeah, anyways. But I think also we've had a lot of these bad actors, we say, in the space where people come in, they get a quick buck, they get a great commission off of it, and that's it. I mean, we saw laws that were passed in Nevada and Utah that you need a W-2 to sell solar, to go through all of that too, right? So there's we're getting momentum to go down the right path. And a lot of people have been saying with this big, beautiful bill being signed that it's going to be a reset for the industry, and it's a reset that needs to happen. And frankly, I don't really disagree with it. I think it's a good thing. And I think the points that you brought up about TPO is we're learning, right? These companies want to stay in business because TPO will corner the market on this. And if it's successful and it's done the right way, it's great for the industry. However, we can't get greedy on it, and we need to make sure that we're doing it the right way. And that's the biggest thing to keep a pulse on in 2026, honestly.
Yeah, agreed. You're part of the Schneider ecosystem. I'd love to hear more about Schneider's involvement in EnergySage, fits into Schneider's portfolio, and where things are going to go in the future.
Yeah. Schneider has a long-term vision and they're willing to play the long game, which is something that I greatly appreciate about Schneider. And their leadership is great. They have the visions. They're very clear in articulating it. One thing that EnergySage had that was very appealing to Schneider is the consumer side of things, right? There's not a lot of companies out there that operate in all 50 states and have access to hundreds of thousands, millions of consumers across the country to educate them on all electrification, right? So as we see that continue to grow and build, we have that source, but they've been very smart and diligent of working with EnergySage. And what I mean by that is it's not, we're going to acquire you in 2022, you're changing everything to Schneider, and we're doing all this. They were very much keep operating and doing what you're doing, because what you're doing is the right way. And we want to continue to help invest and grow with that and help you get into other spaces like heat pumps, like EV chargers, like smart thermostats, because they have other companies underneath them that are doing the same things, right? And bringing all of that together for that consumer to go through that whole electrification journey with the top companies that are doing those products as well. So again, they have a very long-term vision. I'm excited to see what it plays out, but again, there's no timestamp on when this will all happen either, right? It is doing things the right way and not rushing into anything, because when you do it the right way, growth happens. But we've seen in the solar industry, right? You rush in, you sell too many jobs, and all of a sudden you cash out and you're out of business. Like you saw Pink Energy, the CEO who drove a pink Lamborghini, which drove me nuts. But like he cashed out and he was done and didn't service anything afterwards. And we're very much the opposite of how we function here, and looking to be very smart and diligent in the work that we do.
It is a fascinating strategy, and it makes a ton of sense. You've got a multi-billion-dollar electrical parts manufacturing business that's been around for over 100 years, having this incredibly robust digital strategy for downstream distribution of everything that they do. It's fascinating, and as electrification expands and diversifies, Schneider is well positioned not just to keep building the future of it, but also to connect with the homeowners and the consumers around it. So it's an exciting portfolio to be a part of, and it's something that hopefully continues to expand. I think the emphasis on education and long term is exactly where we need to be in solar. Anyways, that's where we started. That's what most contracting businesses are like, right? No one is one sit close on a kitchen remodeling effort, right? Like, can you imagine a one-stick close on redoing your whole basement or your bathroom, right? Like,
No.
not really, not really how it works when you're redoing things in your home. So
Yeah,
that
it takes time and you
focus
need
is key.
multiple quotes. Like it's what EnergySage is our bread and butter at the moment, right? But like to your point, it is, I think, very much few companies have thought what the long-term strategy is. Like, what does it look like in this space 10 years from now?
Right. Let's dig in
I don't know.
on you.
Sure.
You have a unique style of building relationships that is quite special, and you're also not a solar person originally. I think you've become one. You've converted in, but tell us about your career. Right, where did you start? How did you get to this point? We'd love to hear about the trajectory that got you to the current role.
Yeah, I went to college up on the North Shore of Boston, of Massachusetts. I went to Gordon, and then from there, wanted to get into sales. I thought that was my career. It's what I wanted to do. Before that, I was like, I want to be an accountant. Realized I hate spreadsheets. I'm better at talking with people. That's always been my passion, and was in
It's
the
good
e-commerce.
that you picked up on that early.
I had an internship, and I was just stuck in spreadsheets, and I was so exhausted coming out of those days. And I'm like, I'm good. I can't do this. If I have a day with like 12 different meetings, I'm more energized at the end of the day than if I spend a day in spreadsheets. I'm like, I can't do anything. Like, I don't want to talk to anyone. I'm exhausted. My fiance thinks I'm crazy for that, by the way. But
Is she an introvert? Is that why?
yeah, she's an introvert,
There
and
you
I'm
go. Makes sense.
100% extrovert. But with that one, get into sales, didn't know what I wanted to sell, didn't know what I was passionate about, and just wanted to get into an industry that was growing. So I got into the e-commerce tech side of things, realized selling a product that helps speed up someone's website is not something that I was passionate about. Got into the travel industry because I love travel, and the pandemic hit, and just it was tough times. Kept a job, kept selling. I don't know how, but kept selling, and made me reset and reevaluate of what are my passions and what do I truly care about. Because if you're not passionate about what you're selling, you shouldn't be selling it, in my opinion. And found solar, found renewable energy, and wanted to do B2B sales because that's what I like doing. And found EnergySage based in Boston, applied, and realized, wow, I care about solar. And I had no idea how much I cared about it. And I believe in what we're doing, and I believe in EnergySage's model. And I stepped in. It was me and one other B2B salesperson. That person moved into product, and it was just me. And went to our CEO and my boss at the time, and I said, let me see what I can do with this. Let me grow this. Don't hire someone above me. And if I fall flat on my face, hire someone above me, but at least give me the chance. And was able to grow rather quickly at EnergySage. We got acquired. Schneider gave us funds to continue to grow. Built a team of 7 people on the business development side, moved into corporate development in January, and more on the strategic side of things, but just soaking everything in, learning, and knowing that I'm never the smartest person in the room, and I can just learn from other people. And hopefully one day I'll be the smartest person in the room, but I don't think that's going to be anytime soon.
Tell us why solar. Obviously, maybe it's the environmental piece or the mission, but like truly, it's a freaking roller coaster. And this year alone has been insane. So why solar? Why do you want to stick with this? What are you thinking?
Well, I got into solar because I wanted to grow quickly in my career. Like at the end of the day, that's why I got into it. I was passionate about renewable energy, and then I realized I love the people. The people in this industry are amazing people, and there's an inner circle of folks there that have been welcoming to me, which has been just amazing. I'm not a Solar City person, but sometimes I wish I was, because that is a rite of passage in this industry. And it drives me nuts when all of a sudden I'm sitting at a table and everyone's talking about their Solar City days. And I'm like, yep, sounds like a blast. But I got into the industry thinking that it was only going to grow. I saw the incentives. I saw all of that. I never thought that this big, beautiful bill would cut clean energy tax credits. And I thought it was only going to grow. I didn't think utilities were going to cut it. And like what happened with NEM 2.0 to the net billing tariff, I just didn't expect it. But what I like about the industry and what we call the solar coaster, one day I hope we stop calling it this, but
Hope so too. Yeah.
I'm- I stepped in my first day and someone's like, welcome to the solar coaster. And I've just been hearing it ever since for like 4.5 years. But one thing that I do really appreciate about it is you need to be strategic and you need to adapt quickly and you need to change models quickly. I mean, we saw what happened in California. There's a lot of companies, solid companies that went under because they weren't able to adapt. And we're going to see what the big, beautiful bill, once December 31st hits, we go into January, the market's going to contract. Contractors are going to shut their doors, right? We need to think strategically as an industry for everything that's coming that's just been beating us down the last 3 years. Because I started in the industry, the first year was great. And then it's just been downhill ever since. And waiting for that uphill because I truly believe in the future of solar energy. And one of the reasons why I say that is AI data centers is a hot topic. They're going to be live in 1, 2, 3 years. A natural gas plant takes 5 years to build. A residential, like the fastest electron to the grid is residential solar. The second is commercial industrial solar. And the third is utility scale solar. And the fourth is natural gas plants, right? So like we are going to be, I firmly believe it's somewhat of an energy crisis in 2 to 3 years. And we're not going to have the energy for it. We're going to have to import all of this energy to be able to sustain it for an unsustainable grid as well, that we need this battery backup. We need these virtual power plants, and we need more energy that the US is producing with trying to keep up with the AI race. So I think what keeps me in this industry is the long-term side of things is we have hit rock bottom as an industry with everything that has been signed. I'm knocking on wood, right? But truly, it can't get much worse than what it's going to be after this year. And it's going to be an uphill battle, but it's fun. And you have to think about it that way, right? There's so much opportunity and ways to continue to push electrification for a lot of these consumers, for these contractors, for the entire country. And being on the front lines of that is what gives me energy to wake up every day and keep doing my job. So that's why I love the industry. Like I've become passionate about it. I mean, why'd you get into the industry? That's what I'm curious about. And why are you still here?
I did speak with a contractor who I love and know quite well, who said to me recently, this has been the toughest year in his 15 years in the industry. And he said this is the first year he actually has wanted to leave the industry. He is not, echoing your sentiment. I think I got into it because I'm not like a bleeding environmentalist, but I do think recycling and environmentalism and actually having a planet in 100 years is important. Which I think should be table stakes for humanity, but I know that's debatable in some circles.
Should be.
So I think in that, and I'm like a finance economics guy first, and that's just how the world works. I'm a capitalist, and everyone just wants to provide for their family and offer their family a better life in the next generation, right? So like I believe in those things. I actually think that, and this is why I jumped into renewables broadly, but solar specifically. I think we have a really unique moment in the arc of human history, like history of like the human race. It is the first time ever that I can recall that doing right by the environment is financially not just successful, but highly lucrative. Like that is so unique that, renewable energy is at a place where it is the financially good thing to do. I mean, when they say to you, like, take shorter showers, yeah, sure, you save money on your water bill. Like that's a niche example of that, right? But like that doesn't excite humanity. But we're at a point where the tragedy of the commons are real, and the need for electrification in a way that is future looking is real. I also think renewables has a chance to solve domestic manufacturing and EVs, like just renewable energy solves a ton of the human race's needs, and that is super exciting. I mean, think about like the invention of cars, right? Like that was great for humanity, but it also wasn't great for an oil perspective, right? Like the growth of feeding the world led to mass agriculture and processed foods, right? Like a lot of new industries and new things led to a lot of amazing breaks for humanity, but at the expense of the environment. We're at a point right now, like, you can do both. And that is very energizing. And that's why I got into it.
Love that.
So, all right. So I want to talk a little more about you. Like, one of the things, as I mentioned, is you really drive relationship building. You're an extrovert, as you said. Your focus a lot right now for EnergySage is partnerships. How do you figure out what relationships will be strategically valuable for EnergySage? How do you spend your time doing that, right? What is a good relationship for you and EnergySage, and how do you evaluate them?
Yeah, we internally, there's always a conversation of build versus buy, right? And does EnergySage build it, or does EnergySage buy, or partner, right? And bring that partner into the fold. And we historically have very much had the mindset of we can build it, we know what we're doing. And we have now expanded that mindset of who do we partner with that can help us add and bring more value to EnergySage and to our end customer. And not everyone, but most companies have this value of customer first, right? That is their core value. We very much show that, and we have always prioritized the customer, the homeowner, over anybody else. We're a two-sided marketplace. We look after the consumer. We're also coming around and realizing we need to prioritize a lot of the installers as well, and the people that are going through, because when they have a better experience, they're going to provide a better experience to our homeowners. So I think ultimately when we're looking at who we're partnering with and what that looks like as a whole, not to make that a long story longer, but it's what got EnergySage here won't get us there mentality. And what does that there look like is what we were talking about in the very beginning, that whole electrification journey. Where are EnergySage's strong suits, and where are we not strong, right? Where are our fall off points, and how can we secure that with partnerships? And one thing that, I mean, we're a strategic partner together with you all. And one thing that we never really had insight into is what happens after the homeowner is interested in talking with that contractor, right? We're very much connecting them, but you all are doing the designs. You're helping them bring them further down the funnel. And you have that insight into the design side of things, because what you all did is super fascinating. Why we love partnering with you all is because you guys take a strategic look at everything. You started further down the funnel and you're working your way up, taking your learnings that you started from the drone service to get into the proposal and the design side, to get into the AI side of things. And we're looking to partner with companies that align with our culture and understand what we're doing with that consumer first mentality, but also have that longer term vision and are not just in it for 1 to 2 years and then cash out and go someplace else. So we're very diligent with who we're looking to partner with, and who's not just the shiny coin that everyone wants to go to. It's who's doing right and who's going to be around for the foreseeable future. That's who we're looking to partner with.
We've loved working with you guys this year. We did a press release in June about our initial work together. I'd love to hear you describe for our audience, what is the Scanafly EnergySage partnership? What products do we work on together? How does that benefit consumers and installers? And if you want to give a sneak preview as to where it's going in the future, I'll defer to you if that's appropriate.
Yeah, totally. So EnergySage, the way it functions, it's been very manual for the installer to submit a proposal on EnergySage. So we give them the annual electric usage, effective electricity costs, the address, and say, go submit a proposal. They go put the design together, they upload the proposal, or they ballpark it. And what we were trying to solve here was very much how can we be more accurate and quicker to give it, one, an equal playing field for the contractor and also for the homeowner to look at quotes within 5 minutes rather than 24 or 48 hours, maybe even 5 days. So working with you all and really making sure we're providing all of our installers accurate quotes as they're submitting these proposals on EnergySage to these homeowners has been amazing. And we've already seen an uptick in what those conversions look like from the consumer perspective. It's been a better experience. Our contractors are thrilled about what's happening. And we live in a world of instant gratification. at the end of the day. And our homeowners are looking for that as well. And we want to be able to provide that for them. So when a homeowner registers, they don't have to leave their computer. They can stay on their computer and look at accurate proposals based off the information that they provided. What we're looking to do further down the road is go further up the funnel, right? That a homeowner can go and say, I'm interested in solar. What does this look like? And be able to have this interactive design tool to really see if solar is the right fit for them, see what the design looks like on their house, and really have this space to see, am I even interested in solar? Is this the right path for me? Just to have a baseline of costs. So again, we're at the middle, and we can go further down the funnel and further up the funnel with you all, which is why we're really excited to work with you all, because you all are very agile in what you do. You guys are forward thinking, and it's been a very good partnership so far, and I'm looking forward to years to come.
The feelings are mutual. I think, you alluded to our origins with drone design, and, the origin of that was, how do we get homeowners more accurate designs so that what was promised is what's installed, right? And how do we obviously help installers have a safer, faster, more accurate experience? So similar to you guys, thinking about both the consumer and the installer, it has been a journey going upstream for us. There's a lot of solar design tools, solar proposal tools that are in the sales space. I call it the alphabet soup of solar software, because there seems to be a new one every year and a new flashy thing that occurs. But for us, the learnings of what accuracy truly is, which in my opinion is it fits perfectly on install day, and how do we have a consistent singular design platform from start to finish, is something that we're really leaning into. And as we work with you guys, we really have doubled down on our belief that an AI design is great for an estimation, a conversation starter, right? Engaging a homeowner, starting to talk about the economics in a ballpark sense. A remote design with aerial, so a satellite or airplane imagery is fine to close a sale on, and drones can be used to close the sale and or for operations. So there's clearly three types of design-oriented technologies that fit at three distinct stages of a solar process, but that meet the homeowner where they need to be met, and also meet the installer with the personas that are doing each one of those steps, but also the costs related to each one of those steps. And so that's the space where we're trying to live in. And I'll let you keep disclosing what's coming, but hopefully, we can continue working with you on all of those steps, right?
Agreed.
So to close out, where do you see EnergySage going, both in the near and the long term?
It's a loaded question. Near term is to quickly stand up other electrification pathways for consumers. We have our sister company, Qmerit, that is very good on the EV charging side of things and making sure consumers are there. They have this whole network of electrical contractors who can do smart panels, smart thermostats, right? Battery installations, looking into HVAC, right? So like using our resources very well to provide that electrification option to these consumers. The long-term vision is, what does that journey truly look like for a consumer, right? Where do you start and where do you end? And how can that consumer continue to come back through EnergySage to educate them throughout their whole process? Because it might be a 15-year journey for them, right? They might start with the smart thermostat, get an EV charger, look at their utility bill and be like, it's okay, it's not that high. Then get a heat pump, get battery backup, get solar, get another battery. Like, this journey can be drawn out forever, right? But there needs to be that single source of truth for the consumer to come back to and map out all of their needs for them and be there for all of their needs. And that's very much, we have the space, we have the homeowners already across the country. We have the network of contractors on EnergySage across the country. It's how can we help these contractors diversify their portfolio to provide to our customers, is really the long-term vision of what we're trying to accomplish here.
That's awesome. And you guys are well positioned to execute on that. So thank you for your time and your insight. I think we agree on a lot of things. The future for solar is still bright, even though it feels pretty dark right now. But I hope you're right in that this is the bottom, and we're at a point of stability and not much changes. I think we can concur that TPO will be a major player over the next few years, and hopefully they raise the standard and get us back to consultative sales motion and educational sales motion, which is in line with EnergySage's values and why it started in the first place. I think you guys can be that single source of truth for consumers, that place where people can navigate that multi-decade home electrification journey and really be the Angies for home electrification, and having the backing of Schneider and your many years of expertise with these different products truly allow you to lead and to set the standard for us. And Erik, I know that with your leadership and your ability to partner and to build relationships, we as an industry in solar cannot be better positioned. So thank you for joining us. Thanks for everything. We should do this again.